Hello, job seekers. Thanks for watching this video. This video is relevant to everybody, whether they're looking for work or not, because you should all have a LinkedIn profile. But setting up your LinkedIn profile in the best way so that it helps and not hinders your job search is something that we get asked about all the time. So, joining me today is Anna McAfee, LinkedIn expert. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you so much for having me, James. It's great to be having this conversation.
It certainly is. LinkedIn is a tool that I use a lot and I'm very passionate about. You use it a lot too. You're a LinkedIn coach, a trainer, and a strategy advisor. Tell us a bit about that job. What does it mean you're doing with your time?
Look, essentially, it means that I help both people and businesses set up their presence and profiles on LinkedIn. So that can be people pages, it could be company pages, but I also help coach and train individuals and teams on actually how to use LinkedIn, what it's for, how to network, how to build relationships with people,
Mhm.
and also how to build their profile and through content on LinkedIn. So
Mm.
a lot of content marketing in there, a lot of engagement strategies, and a lot of, I guess, that digital relationship building. And so helping people
Yep.
understand that either from a job seeking perspective or from a business perspective, and just really understanding the benefits, the features, and the opportunities on the platform.
Yep. So LinkedIn to me in these times, it offers so much now, but I think a lot of people kind of feel that, well, maybe it's because there are so many features there now. I'm not sure which ones I should be using. So in our chat today, I'm really keen for you to share some of the basics that we need to be doing, and then maybe talk about some of those, I guess, not necessarily hidden aspects of LinkedIn, but some of those important features that are there that maybe not everybody's aware of. So I guess to start off with, take us through the basics. What are the basics required for setting up a good LinkedIn profile for an individual?
Look, the things on LinkedIn that make a first impression are really the visuals. So your profile picture and your
Mm.
background image. That's the little banner behind your profile picture on your LinkedIn profile. Your headline is a really big one as well. Anywhere you go on LinkedIn, be it making a post, leaving a comment, or even leaving a recommendation for someone, it always displays your headline. So it's absolute prime real estate, that headline. So it's worth putting some thought into that. But they're kind of those are the first impressions
Yeah.
that are really, really important. The other really important part is things like the about section and of course the experience section. And these, particularly the experience section and the education section, really need to match your resume when you're job seeking. You want those to be, obviously up to date and mirroring each other.
Mm.
And the about section is also really important to put some, I guess, some thought into what you want, because this is it's a couple of paragraphs, a summary around what it is that you're looking for, and it's probably a section that isn't always on your resume, so it gives you the
Mhm.
opportunity to really fill out your profile with
Yeah.
more than just what your resume is,
Yeah.
and an opportunity to really talk about what you're interested in, what it is that you're learning about at the moment, or what it is that you're looking for.
Yeah. Now, one of the reasons I got in touch with you, Anna, is apart from the fact that you're a LinkedIn expert, you've got a great LinkedIn profile. I want to ask you about your photo, though. You've got a bit of a cheeky photo there. Why have you chosen to use this photo? What type of messaging are you hoping to send?
Look, my profile picture is a little bit of an accident. I had some professional headshots taken, as you do, and the photographer I was working with, I think, was trying to actually make me calm down a little bit because I don't like getting my photo taken.
Yeah.
So he got me to pull some funny faces, and he said, "Gosh, one of these photos is really, really good."
Mm.
And it was really good. And I thought, there is no way this would work on LinkedIn.
Mm.
For anyone that hasn't seen it, it's sort of me poking my tongue out and putting my hair out in pigtails. And I really thought at the time, I'm not sure that this really fits well with
Mm.
me or with actually LinkedIn as a platform. But I thought, let's just give it a go. I
Yeah.
put up a photo with 4 good profile shots, that one included, and I said, A, B, C, or D, which one do you prefer? And so many people said D, the really funny one. They said, because it's
Mm.
just so refreshing. It's
Yeah.
different.
Absolutely. And it's not that it's unprofessional either. Like, it just makes you stand out.
Yeah, and it does for me, it actually really helps people understand that LinkedIn isn't just this boring platform.
Mm,
And I get DMs all the time, direct messages from people saying, "I love your profile. Every time I see it, it makes me smile."
yeah.
And it actually really has helped me, which I didn't realize at the time, really hone a message that this isn't just a professional platform that
Mm,
is having really boring conversations. You can have a bit of fun. Interestingly, LinkedIn at the time of recording this are about to change the reactions on the posts to include an actual laughing icon. So
mm,
clearly LinkedIn themselves are trying to have a bit more humor in there too.
yeah. So you mentioned an upgrade that's coming, that laughing icon, and I think this is one thing that most people aren't aware of is LinkedIn are constantly adding new features. Algorithms are changing behind the scenes. Some people might have noticed that you can do a video profile as well now. What are some of the recent changes that we should be aware of, and perhaps we should be using ourselves?
Look, the recent changes, you mentioned the profile video, which is a great opportunity to have a 30-second video that introduces yourself
Mhm.
if you're not too adverse to putting yourself on camera. And it just sits behind the profile picture. And particularly on mobile, when you hover over someone's profile, when you first visit their profile, you see this sort of moving image the first 3 seconds. You can click on
Mhm.
it and then watch an introductory video. So
Yeah.
that is a really great feature that has been brought in fairly recently. A couple of others, and they're not, I wouldn't say they're super recent, but probably quite underutilized, is during the pandemic, LinkedIn introduced a little sticker to put on your profile picture, which is
Mhm.
an open to work, which is really great for job seekers and great to show that you are, actively looking for new positions at the moment. Especially good for recruiters and hiring managers as well to see those.
Mm.
And another part is the featured section. So it actually allows you to feature certain things on your profile, and they can be links to other websites, they can be links to YouTube videos, news reports, but also you can feature either your own LinkedIn posts or LinkedIn articles.
Okay.
So if you put in a bit of time in terms of creating, a post, you might, let's say, for example, you are a manager, you're looking for a new position right now. You might put up a post about, the top 3 things I learned when my team went remote last
Mhm.
year. And, that might be things like, the importance of check-ins,
Yes.
and how to communicate digitally, things like that. And you could do a short little post like that. Now, that's great when you post it at the time, but the ability to actually feature that on your profile is a great way to demonstrate kind of your knowledge or
Mm.
expertise or I guess your learnings.
Yeah.
And so that featured section is really good for lots of different things, but a great way to, I guess, demonstrate what it is that you have to offer into a new
Mm.
position.
I've learned something. I didn't know you could feature posts in that section because, yeah, sometimes you might create a post and it gets a lot of traction and a lot of good discussion, and then in 3 days' time it disappeared. So that's really good to know that you can feature those. So Anna, once we've set up our LinkedIn profile in a really good way, we've followed the tips here, and we've got a really good checklist for everybody that's watching today. Anna's created a checklist. The basics, the 5 basic things you need to get right on your profile, and then 5 things you can do to really step things up. So, in terms of stepping things up, once you've created your LinkedIn profile, it's looking really good. How do we maximize that so it doesn't just kind of sit there and gather dust?
Look, there's a lot of things that you can do on LinkedIn in terms of increasing your own visibility and actually building relationships, which is what LinkedIn is ultimately for.
Mm,
And a few things that I would say are creating content, creating posts, sharing things that you're learning, that type of thing. But not everyone really feels necessarily comfortable doing that, particularly if you're fairly new to LinkedIn or haven't been very interactive before. And one of the, I think, the most underestimated, demonstrations of good networking on LinkedIn is actually leaving comments on other
mhm,
people's posts. Because it's ultimately LinkedIn is a platform about conversations. So
mm,
when you're making a post, you're starting a conversation, and when you're commenting on other people's posts, you're actually continuing a conversation, and that opens up a lot of a lot of different discussions. So think about what news articles you could comment on or reshare even. Think about I guess, thought leaders in your industry that you could follow and interact with their posts. That's not only helpful for you in terms of actually perhaps gaining some new connections through those comments and interactions, but it also helps your existing network because they see a lot of those comments. So if you can say, well, actually, I found in my experience, this can sometimes be a contributing factor towards whatever the topic is of the article, for example. Your existing network some of them will see that comment. And that is a great opportunity for you to demonstrate, again, what it is that you're looking for, what it is that you offer, and really get involved in those conversations. So being really interactive is something that's really important. And that includes even indirect messaging as well. And it's about, reaching out to people perhaps whose posts that you have seen that are really interesting, who could be good to have in your network. Reach out to them, personalize the connection request, thank them for their post, say it was actually really thought-provoking, or look at their about section, something in their profile, mention that, or look at a recent article that they have perhaps published and reach out to them on that basis to say, hey, that was a great article about XYZ. And so the interaction is just as important as building the profile.
And for somebody who's watching this, who's really keen to, I guess, up their LinkedIn game and start posting more and maybe start posting regularly, but they're just not sure what they should be posting. They don't kind of have any inspiration. What's your advice for them?
Look, I think it's important if you do want to make posts, there are a few things as a job seeker that you can post about. You can talk about what it is that you're learning. So perhaps if you're doing a course or just things that you're learning going through, organizational change, if that's where you've come from, is sharing what it is that you're learning. Perhaps it's a good podcast that you've listened to and you share the link to the podcast and say, the thing that I found most insightful about this conversation was, and then, perhaps share a quote from the podcast. So things that you'll learn, like conferences you've been to, networking events that you've been to, education that you're doing, what is it that you're learning? That's kind of sharing the journey. It's also worth sharing things that are relevant to what your network or your connections might be interested in too. So that could be industry updates. There's lots of things going on in different industries that maybe not everyone's aware of, sharing perspectives on new legislation that's coming in, or, new changes to whatever it is that is, I guess, affecting your industry at the moment, and that your connections are actually interested in reading about and sharing. But and then that can be news articles as well. There's a lot of amazing publications out there. LinkedIn News themselves have their own. LinkedIn News Australia have their own feed. So you could look at some articles that they are actually publishing and share those with your own network. And that's sharing is probably a good way to start, and then really build on creating your own posts. But the best way to build confidence on LinkedIn is to comment, as I've already mentioned, but also, I guess, do some, social listening. Read your own news feed. Look at what other people are posting about. Look at what other people are interacting on. And that will honestly give you some ideas of your own that you can post about. And often a comment that you make on someone's post, you might actually think to yourself, gosh, this would actually make a good post. I'm sharing an experience of mine. You might leave the comment and then the next day pop up to your newsfeed and actually make a post about it and say, I mentioned this in a comment on, James's post yesterday, but I thought I'd share it here as well, which is my experience about, managing teams remotely, whatever the experience is. So be interactive, because it will give you ideas for your own post, but definitely share industry news, what your connections are interested in, and what you're learning.
You talked before about the importance of understanding the headline and the featured section and some of those top of page parts of LinkedIn. For job seekers, how explicit should they be on their LinkedIn profile that they're looking for work, do you think? Would you recommend having a headline saying accounting graduate actively seeking work?
I think so. Absolutely. If that's your purpose on LinkedIn and you're not in it an employment situation where your existing employer is going to see that and you don't want them to, then I think absolutely. I am a big fan of people being very open and honest, because you're asking people to read between the lines if you're not doing that. And not everyone has time for that. In fact, very few people do. So I really think, don't be embarrassed or worried about the situation that you're in, and be really open and honest about it. It could be, actively seeking a new position. It could be, open to new work opportunities in a specific industry area. Be quite specific about it. If it's, tech or whatever it is, the industry you're in, be quite specific about that in your headline. And it could just be, experienced project manager actively seeking new roles within the new year, or something like that, if you're kind of going through a redundancy period at the moment, and it's going to be in the future. It leaves people not what it means. That
I love it because and I work with a lot of job seekers that they set their LinkedIn profile and they think it's set in stone now, where it's a fluid thing. So my view is like yours. If you're looking for work, be explicit if you can that you're looking for work. Then when you get a job, change your headline. You're no longer an accountant graduate looking for work. You are an assistant accountant or whatever your role may be. So I think there needs to be a real mind shift around the fact that, LinkedIn, you can change your profile pic every day if you want. You can change your featured articles around whenever you like. It's not set in stone. And as you said, if that's your purpose on there at the moment, then let's make sure that we're shouting that purpose as loud as we can. Just to finish with, Anna, what do you see if you're crystal balling into LinkedIn over the next couple of years? How's it going to continue to evolve and change?
Look, it really will evolve and change. There's a huge push at the moment for, I guess, what LinkedIn call supporting creators. So they are people who are creating content and publishing articles. And just going back to what you said, James, about, your profile is a fluid thing. I 100% agree with you. And LinkedIn is, I really believe that people should look at LinkedIn as a platform that can support them throughout their entire career. So through job phases, but also through, employment phases, and networking, and the ability, I guess, to build up and actually share what your knowledge, particularly as you work throughout your career, it's a great opportunity to share that. So for example, when I say creators, LinkedIn has a great newsletter feature. So an individual can actually start a newsletter, and those sorts of things LinkedIn are looking, they have a lot of programs throughout the world in a lot of their different markets to actually support and pay creators. It isn't in Australia yet, but I've been told that it will come at some stage. So they're pushing a lot of things for creators. They've got this creator mode. So they are trying to make it a lot easier for people to share their knowledge through, different aspects, such as this new newsletter feature. Company pages are becoming a much bigger thing on LinkedIn. They're really pushing that. It's not always relevant to job seekers, but it can be really helpful for job seekers to know that that's there, because they can go and actually look companies up and do some research before an interview. Go and look up the company page, look at the posts. Because LinkedIn are pushing this more and more, I'm seeing a lot of people coming to me saying, gosh, we've built our Facebook profile, but we've never really bothered with LinkedIn. Can you help us? So know that that's kind of there and that's coming. And so use the company pages as well as connecting with people. But so many different, LinkedIn are updating things. There would be a new feature almost every month. Sometimes it's minor, like that little, change to the icon. And sometimes it can be something really big, like the ability to publish newsletters. But there are constant ongoing changes.
Yeah. Well, Anna, thank you very much for joining us today. And a reminder to everybody watching to download this checklist that Anna has created for us. It'll help you, I guess, have some confidence around correctly setting up your LinkedIn profile and then continuing to use it moving forward. But Anna, thanks very much for joining us. All the best with your LinkedIn coaching moving forward.
Thank you so much, James. It's great to be here.